Maybe, okay. The Slido is still there for you guys to pop in your questions. I'm really excited to invite, and thank you, Martin. I'm really excited to invite our next guest on stage. She's a sustainability champion and a marine biologist turned entrepreneur who's fighting to end single-use plastics. Obviously, climate change is a huge, huge issue, probably the most important issue in our lifetime, and it will impact us all no matter what our sector is. So I'm so pleased to welcome my next guest to Campus Party Canada. Rachel Labbe Bellas is the founder and CEO of Oland Stations. And for those of you who are in the room, she is responsible for the refillable water station at the back of the salle. Welcome on stage, Rachel. Hello. How are you? How's it going? You're back in real life. Good, good. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey, not just to the stage, but I mean, you started swimming with the sharks and sea urchins, and now you're here as an entrepreneur. So what did that journey look like for you?
I guess I'm out.
Oh,
can you hear me now?
Can we hear?
Okay.
Yes.
Something must have happened when I ran to the bathroom a minute ago. I must have unplugged my mic. So yeah, I started as a marine biologist. That's my degree. I went to McGill University for all the locals here in the room.
Nice.
And loved sharks, sea urchins, protecting corals. What happened was I went on a sailing voyage a little bit after my master's in Brazil. And it's like after a rainy day when it rains and then you see all the worms come out. Once you see one worm, you see thousands.
Right.
It's kind of like that. So what happened was I went on a plastics pollution voyage. And once I saw plastic in the ocean, that became my new addiction, my new species to study. It was like, oh my God, it's everywhere. I can't save sharks if I don't stop this first. So that's kind of where I redirected.
Okay. Wow. So all the plastic in the ocean inspired you to start this business, Oland Fill and Water Stations. So what is that enterprise? Okay,
well, yes, this beautiful metallic hexagonal baby in the back corner, if you're all here in this event, is a 360-degree accessible water refill station. It has an improved, unique design ideal for like better flow at very, very large scale events where lots of like wall units have created congestion and traffic for especially festivals with like 100,000 people at a time.
Right.
And then it's essentially serving in a big pain right now for the events market or pre-COVID events market, which was getting access to water because a lot of these events were temporary and they don't have the infrastructure. So I thought, well, what do I see after a big festival? I see plastic bottles everywhere, of course, beer cups, lots of other single-use items. But speaking with my first client, who gave me a big push and a big support, was Evenco, and they said, yeah, like help us. We've always had this as an issue. Let's do this. So we did that in Osheaga 2019, and we were really excited that our prototypes that we crowdfunded for were refilled 85,000 water bottles in 3 days and didn't break.
That's huge. That's a lot of plastic waste averted.
Yes, there was a lot of garbage bags removed from, or recycling bags, because regardless, we think, yes, recycling is a solution, but it's still going to a recycling stream, which is extremely costly. And if we can just do one step ahead, which is in the 3 arrows, which is reduce, let's start there.
Right. Okay, so I'm scared to ask, but how bad is the plastic problem right now? And why should the people listening in the tech world get in this space?
Okay. Well, we sometimes often overlook the simplest things, hence some things that tech has forgotten to do, you know? Tech can be really cool. You see a great technological thing to fund on crowdfunding. But if it's not applied to social behavior, it doesn't have the real lasting impact. So I think that's the missing link where plastic pollution really needs. We need everyone here in this room with great ideas, whether you're from engineering, UX, web design, all these things, to think of the full life cycle. So, I mean, we only see what's at the waste end of life stream. We don't even we haven't even begin to understand what's going on pre. So, like, I mean, we all hear what's going on now in Glasgow with COP26, and they're talking about, you know, the serious climate and all these emissions that need to be reduced. But we forget that even plastic pollution is the end of life. That's one part of the issue. Production is a huge CO2 emitter. And like all the fracking that's going to happen in the US, I mean, everyone's saying, oh, electric vehicles are going to save the day. You know what the plastic producers are doing? They're just saying, great, we're going to start making single-use plastics because there's an increase in demand for it, and it's going to go up 400% in the next 30 years. That's not in line with the climate statements and declarations that the countries are making. So it's grave.
Grave. And so maybe you can tell me a little bit about, you know, how you as a business person, a scientist turned business person, made this sort of, you know, a business case or made it a business mission, and how you sort of intersect sustainability in your business, and
Sure.
how people can get into this mindset when they're starting their careers, or, you know, having a strange background but get into the sustainability space.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I said, I studied like marine biology and ecology in school. I'm not a business background. I had no background in understanding how to start a business. I actually felt like it wasn't a thing that I could ever do. I didn't feel capable. I thought, well, that's not an idea. And then as a pre-entrepreneur, you struggle so much on like, well, I don't have the perfect idea. It's never going to work. But like what I learned going through, I think 2.5 years of incubators, starting with one here in Montreal, the Founder Institute, and then I did Montréal Lab, which is a culture, tourisme, and divertissement, and then I did another one called Aqua Hacking, which is a short burst, but it was about Great Lakes and water issues. And going through all those three, it was like nothing's ever perfect. And I'm not here because I have a perfect product. I have a product that serves a mission to end or reduce single-use plastic waste, and I'm evolving every time. So right now it's starting as a water station, and even during the pandemic, I panicked because there's no more events.
Right.
So no one's going to want water anymore. No one's going out. What do I do? Let's fix them and make them into hand washing stations.
Nice.
And I thought that was going to save the world, and every single grocery store and Canadian Tire would have them at the entrance. But, you know, everyone thought it was short term, but here we are.
Right.
But all this to say is that it's evolving, and that's the purpose of this. Like, I'm evolving. I'm learning. I find people that will be compatible to me or complement our skills and bring the engineering piece to it, the marketing piece. Like, I'm just learning how to even balance an accounting book. Like, there's so many things to learn, but it's perseverance. And what the previous gentleman said is being okay with failure and changing and adapting.
Okay. So I just need to ask you, about the pandemic here. Is the demand for public water stations picking up again now that we're kind of like back to getting back to normal?
Yes. And actually, I thought, like I was just saying, I thought hand washing was going to be my new like one to go-to product, but actually water refill seems to be more in demand. I think a lot of people still think dispensers are quicker and cheaper, and if it's short-term pandemic, great, but if you have like a venue that you're going to forever have hygiene regulations, it's a smart idea to invest in a better like sink washing systems. So I think, you know, the water refill industry is gonna do well because people want to go back out. But I'm not just looking at events. That's the entry market. But I mean, any public school and any airport that has high volumes of people all the time, a large park, an arena, a football stadium, like if all those things come back to life, well, we're going to need to drink water, and especially in countries where potable water is the exact same thing that you get in your bottled water. So, I mean, it's coming back, and I had a aha moment with my team last week, and it was that I'm not necessarily searching for a market, I'm searching for a behavior.
Yeah.
And I'm searching for people who want to do good for the planet. And an event like this one was an event that sought us out to say, hey, we want to offer refill stations. We want to make it loud and clear. We don't want people to go to the bathroom to have to fill their bottle. We want to value this service. So I believe in good behaviors, and I think they're coming.
Right on. That's awesome. We have a couple questions from the chat already, so I'll give you one. One of them is from Anonymous. What are some of the bigger challenges in being an entrepreneur in the sustainability space? Good one.
Good one.
Yeah.
Challenge. it's like you investing and investors, if you want to go the seed funding route, look right away to how they can generate revenue. I'm a long-term solution. I might make revenue in my company, but we are going to be in this for the long term. I'm not going to get rich like an app will overnight, quick. Yeah. So investors are less interested in that sense. But there is social innovation and social investing. So I believe that that's coming, or impact investing, as that we say. It's hard I haven't landed one yet, so I'm looking for one if you have any leads.
Hey, any tips out there? Anyone watching?
Yeah. I mean, the simplest things are the hardest to change, guys. So I guess I'm in that market. So that's one thing that's tough for sustainability and tech, because you can have this really super cool robot that like is cleaning up the oceans, but like that thing is not as effective as we think it was. So, but trillions of dollars, not trillions, maybe a couple billions of dollars went into that innovation. So it's kind of not necessarily misleading, but I guess we can say the sexy thing sells better. And then the simplest things are like, oh, I don't want to fund that.
Right, okay.
That's the hard part.
That does sound challenging. Is there anything you wish someone told you at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey when you were starting out that you realized on your path?
Yeah, well, I started this idea came to me right when I got off my expedition, and I was living in California.
Okay.
And my dream, like MVP, which is the minimum viable product, was so complicated. Like it was like so expensive to build, and I spent so much time trying to build the highest tech. Again, another challenge or roadblock. I was trying to build something so IP cool, high tech, and then I was like, that would be like $100,000 to build. I can't do that. So I went back and kept removing features or things that I thought were super cool for my product. And then I realized, I'm making a manual water station with a cooler design, with no electricity requirements, no solar panels, but all these things were things I had dreams of, with vending units inside and extra cool stuff. But that's like, ugh.
Do you think that sometimes entrepreneurial people fall in that trap of the bells and whistles of tech?
Yeah,
it sounds like
I need the
hype.
coolest idea, and that's what's going to get me, bring me success. And a little we know is it's perseverance, it's team, and it's just finding the right network around you that believes in you and keeps supporting you, like mentors and communities and incubators, people that will highlight you on social media. That is where I'm getting leads.
Nice.
Pilot partners, like. That's what I should have remembered, but I guess I was looking for that shiny star at the beginning.
Right. No, that makes sense. And hey, we're a big community at Campus Party. I'm curious, where you see a community like this, Gen Z, the folks who are in university right now and just starting out their career. Where do you see them sort of like fitting into this movement? Because it sounds like you're really tackling single use and that's your part of the sustainability ecosystem, but there must be different ways for people to get in.
Yeah, I mean, you mean beyond just single-use plastic, or general sustainability, or how to get into single-use?
I'm curious how you think the next generation is really going to move the needle or make a change, because it seems like there are a lot of social behaviors and there is a lot of social awareness now.
Yeah, I mean, Next Gen is super, I think they got such great ideas. They're super inspiring. I know there's a speaker here at Campus Party this week that's going to be talking about blockchain. And I obviously don't have a job from my O-Land yet because it's a startup and you don't pay yourself, FYI, for like 4 years. So I work for a nonprofit and we're learning about how to accept blockchain in California right now as a donation, and we're learning the benefits of blockchain tech and crypto for creating data and making it transparent and sharing, and like that the Gen Zs are all over crypto.
Nice.
Everyone's into this, everyone's understanding these liberties, these new ways of working. So I think that's how Gen Z is going to help contribute. They're very lots of them are nomadic now. They don't necessarily want to buy a home. They want to rent only, or they want to be vagabonds and travel in their van. Okay, great. You can do that. You still can contribute. You don't need to go like large, 200 plus company to make an impact. So I think that's how it's kind of the mindset is how they're going to contribute.
Cool. I have another question that came up, also from Anonymous, or maybe a different Anonymous. What do you think of the lack of serious commitments from many global leaders at COP26?
Ooh.
Yeah, controversial one, but
Yeah.
it's timely. It's of the moment. We're all talking and thinking.
We're
about
all
COP26.
talking about it. I mean, a lot of those things, I mean, if I think in my world, when I was in the marine science world, there was the large conference was called the Marine Debris Conference.
Okay.
And all the big guys go. And when we found out it's sponsored by Coke and all these sponsored by things, a lot of people have resistance and they don't go. So I'm trying to say that the benefit of this is that we need to work with our so-called enemy. So even though the commitments are loose, we need to still listen to each other. We can't just say that's not enough and disconnect. And I mean, we just talked about communication in this other call. You need to say, well, on the other end, I'm listening to you. What do you want? Why is this not enough? And let's continue brainstorming until we get to a medium. I mean, it's not going to happen at COP26, but they've got to accelerate their commitments and do like serious bans. But I'm totally in agreement that if they want to ban all single-use plastics, but they haven't funded technologies that serve as the alternative, then there's a huge gap. How are you going to implement new technologies if you haven't like supported them up until this to get to like that stage where they can actually supply and demand?
Right.
So then again, we're at this. So these countries are loosely doing this because they can't. They probably are looking like, oh my God, I don't have a backup.
Right.
But if they had backup solutions and technologies as readily available at that scale, like solar power, that's probably still too expensive for most countries, then it would be easier to like convert.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So we were talking like globally, COP26. I'm curious. We're in Canada. What would you like to see Canada take some leadership on in this regard?
Well, Trudeau's supposed to ban single-use plastics this year.
Huh.
He said that before the pandemic. Let's see. He just got reelected. Let's see if he follows through. I really, really hope so. I know the Minister of the Environment, Catherine McKenna, stepped down, and we have a new one. I liked her, so I'm a little bummed. But I really think that Canada is in the right, getting better. At least we got rid of we haven't signed the Keystone, or we're getting rid of that. And I think Canada has a big role to play in protecting our forests.
Yeah.
And also kind of just leading the way as a place where we're not relying on, we have such small populations, we really can do it right. Yeah. It's not like we're like overflowing with all these people. We don't have enough resources to take care. We really can be leaders and inspire the rest of the world to take the right choice.
Yeah.
Or a better choice for the planet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, the question and A is open. If you folks want to put something into Slido or ask here, please do. The floor is yours. I have another question, though, to follow this one. We're talking about some heavy stuff. There's a lot of plastic, waste in the world. I'm curious how you find ways to keep motivated and keep your perspective and keep your climate anxiety under control, or at least regulated, in the face of all of these challenges that we really need to get working on.
Yeah. Well, on a personal note, Greta was here in 2019. And after that climate march, and I saw her, I was all excited. I was super proud that my city was representing well. After I saw her, I guess I was like, oh, there's so many people that care in this city. I can relax now. I don't have to just like bite my nails every day saying I'm not doing enough. And then the next day I found out I was pregnant. So I guess I felt supported by the greater network of the world that I see there's a lot of people that care and that are doing things, know? And in the plastic space as a global movement, I focus every day on the positive. I mean, with the nonprofit we're with in LA, we're also part of this movement called Break Free from Plastic. It's a huge, huge movement. It's not an organization with 1,400 orgs that are part of it, and it's around the world. And we focus on what's happening with all these little players coming together. Like we don't just look at all the things that aren't done right, and we continually inspire, and we test, like defy the odds and test our norms, and we agree to like listen to the large corporate waste producers and invite them on our expeditions and talk to the companies like, here is the garbage in the ocean. You're the number one brand that we find. Like, tell us your commitments and tell us how you're going to change, but we can't just shut you off.
Yeah.
So that's how I keep hope that they're humans too,
Yeah.
and they want a place for their families just like I have one now, and they want a clean, healthy planet too. So we got to just work together.
That's great. That's really great. Speaking of expeditions, we've only got a few moments left, but I was reading about you, and you went on an all-woman sailing crew. Can you tell me a little bit about this? You did this for also the Great Lakes, I believe, in Canada.
Yes, I did that.
Tell me about sort of all of these little gestes. I shouldn't say little. That sounds like a great
No,
adventure, but tell me
adventurous
about
gestes.
these adventures that you're going on. And
Yes, that's like my activist heart in myself, you know,
Okay.
and the one that likes to tell the story. I love, like, I've always been first in my class in school. Like, I want to present my billboard, please. Like,
yeah.
so I just have this like desire to like always take a risk and do something stupid. It wasn't that stupid. It was a normal trip. But we sailed for 19 days without seeing land. We sailed from Brazil to English Guyana, and I've never sailed before. And it was at a perfectly beautiful tall ship, and I raised money to go on the trip, crowdfunding again, because it was way too crazy to afford. And I did lots of like little auctions with eco-friendly products like Clean Canteen, and to get people to help support me. So I held little movie nights with the first expedition voyage. And I mean, that's just a solution to say, like, you could do it and have fun. You just gotta work hard, but you can have fun. So one little caveat is that when we were 14 women, yes, some seasick the whole time, and we didn't stop once to swim. We researched samples for microplastics every day, and had a little microscope in the sailboat and like this. And then an hour probably before landing at port, our boat hit ground by mistake.
Oops.
Because we hadn't read the charts properly. They last had been charted in 1964.
Ooh.
So the British Embassy and the Guyanese Embassy helped us for like 4 days, and it was a drama, and everyone in town was laughing. But they were really helpful and fun. So we ended the trip on a fun bump, but the sailors were very experienced, but
That's cool.
we were all newbies. We're like, how do we help? How do we?
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, it sounds like, you're, oh no, this is another one. But, actually, no, I've got a new question. I'm sorry. It even surprised me. In what ways do you know, wish, or expect crypto and NFT to help organizations like yours work towards helping the environment?
Well, I mean, the fact that crypto is now getting a little bit more of renewable energy behind it is a great thing. It's a plus. The fact that it creates this like decentralization from banks, and we know that banks have not been too good to the world, as we see what's going on at COP26.
Right.
And a lot of U.S. banks are getting called out for their actions in supporting fossil fuels. So, I mean, crypto is just... it's a new thing. It's not perfect. Nothing's perfect, but it's transitioning to a little bit more of a libertarian and a free choice world. So I think there's lots of ways that the cryptos, lots of places like there's another NGO called Plastic Bank. I think they're based at he's a Canadian run, I think.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'll correct after, but I know that he uses blockchain to show the transparency of how they recover plastics in Indonesia, and shows a step by step that the plastic is collected. It's like separated into colors, it's charted, and then it's reformed and molded and then sent out. So that data is being used finally. It's not this like black market data anymore. When you really say, are you really recycling? Like now blockchain can help like validate that it's transparent and truly being recycled.
Right on. So unfortunately, we've got like 30 seconds left. I just wanted to thank you so much for coming here and showing us all the many different avenues that we can take to make a difference and move the needle for the environment.
Laura.
So please join me in thanking Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. I am staying. Yeah, but it's my pleasure to invite our next host on stage.